by David Zhao.
Awesome, guys. I guess I get to get started. Everybody, welcome to this conference. And I first wanted to start off by giving a great shout out to everybody that's listening to my speech today. I want to thank you for your attention. I want to thank you for your time. But most importantly of all, I wanted to thank you guys for being here. Today, what I wanted to talk about is a new frontier in the investment of decentralized finance as the managing partner of Beacon 256. In recent years, decentralized finance has almost become synonymous with market volatility, with mainstream news coverage covering mainly things like 1,000% gains or 1,000% losses. It's no surprise why that's the case. Hopefully, you've heard of decentralized finance, but if not, it's an umbrella term for blockchain applications that disrupt financial intermediaries. The Wild West nature of DeFi, as a result of the volatility I earlier mentioned, scares many would-be investors from entering into the space. But for those that already do have allocations, many investors are looking for 10 to 20x returns. Many more investors are trying to time the market to benefit from market upswings, which is largely unsustainable. So think about it to yourself. Can the average investor consistently time the market or find the next 10x coin? Is this a sustainable way of investing that'll help make you successful in the long run with your DeFi investments? From our belief, it's highly unlikely. Even market professionals fail to consistently time the market and define the best investments possible. As a result of chasing big gains from single coins, investors are opening themselves up to tremendous amounts of risk that most investors cannot tolerate, particularly those coming from traditional finance. So how can investors protect themselves? To put it simply, you diversify your portfolio while working to minimize permanent losses of capital. And the key word here is permanent losses. I come from a background of traditional finance, where there is a surplus in the variety of asset classes and technical instruments for de-risking, such as stop losses, options, calls, puts, so on and so forth. In DeFi, these TradFi, or traditional finance instruments, already exist. But new tools, unique to crypto, provide alternatives to diversification and de-risking. While most investors allocate capital in crypto through buying and holding coins, few take advantage of underappreciated DeFi opportunities such as staking and yield farming. And as you can see here, these are very aggressively emphasized because this is the focus of my talk today. While some of the audience may know a lot about this specific topic, statistically, there's a lot more education that needs to be done. According to a survey conducted by Cardify, out of 100 digital asset investors across the world, only 17 of them can truly say that they understand the full potential of digital asset future, of digital asset investment, most importantly, digital asset de-risking. Of those 17 people, even fewer are actual users of staking and yield farming technologies. As of July 2021, only 24% of proof-of-stake tokens were actually staked in the market. To put a monetary sum on this, as per market capitalizations at that time, that's over $400 billion that could be generating returns for investors across the globe with lower risks. Now that we know these opportunities exist, how can we capitalize on them? How can we use them to our advantage? What do they mean? We've talked about why we should look into these technologies, but what is staking? What is yield farming? Staking is a process where investors provide tokens to confirm blocks of transactions. By providing their liquidity, they help make it so that transactions are validated more effectively, efficiently, and quickly. As a new block is added to the blockchain, new coins are minted and distributed as staking rewards, which are subsequently given back to investors such as yourself. While funds may be locked, which is a big consideration and fear of many investors navigating the staking ecosystem, most staking opportunities allow for immediate unstaking whenever you feel like it. Meaning that for those that are afraid of liquidity issues, you don't have to worry. When you want to make an allocation, when you want to readjust your market portfolios, you simply unstake, which is a 2-minute transaction at most. Staking helps with diversification because it allows investors to generate returns even when markets go down, which is kind of a dichotomy. It's a big question of how can investors make money when markets are going backwards? The more transactions there are, that means the more market activity there are. So as markets go up, there's an increase in transactions. As markets go down, there's an increase in transactions as well. And as I earlier mentioned on how staking is where investors provide funds in helping validate transactions, well, to put it simply, the more transactions there are, the more returns there are for you as an investor. Thus, staking reduces the risk of volatility by generating you returns with volatility. You're fundamentally de-risking yourself against volatility because the more volatile a market is, the more money you can theoretically make with staking opportunities. Staking large cap altcoins can net anywhere from 5 to 20%, which, if you're familiar with decentralized finance, is not a lot of money. We're not recommending large cap alternative investments. We're recommending the looking and the investigation into up-and-coming digital asset staking, which can generate you substantial returns, which is the true opportunity we have before us today. As an example, early stakers in Shiba Swap, a coin that a lot of us in this space have heard about, earned over 710% APY through staking alone, meaning that you're not adding more money, meaning that you're not spending more of your allocation spread out towards specific coins. You're simply leaving your existing allocation into a software. Staking, thus, is an alternative to purely investing into coins, a thing that we would love to look for as investors. This helps diversify your portfolio while reducing the risk of unrecoverable losses. Moving on, what is yield farming? The second part of what I wish to talk about today. Similar to staking, yield farming is where one locks up funds in exchange for financial rewards. But rather than helping validate blocks of transactions, yield farming is where investors provide funds to a liquidity pool where users can exchange, borrow, or lend coins. Subsequently, fees generated through the process of lending, borrowing, exchanging these coins, well, that fee is paid out to investors such as yourself. And because rewards is equal to the total number of tokens that you are rewarded as a result of the funds that you've now locked up, well, your earnings potential is supercharged when market recovery happens. We talked earlier about how we benefit the most when markets go down. This increases your allocation without you having to spend more money into buying this coin. Thus, when market recovers, you've now increased your allocation without spending more money. Yield farming de-risks in the same way that staking does, where the increase in transaction equals an increase in the money that you make. Think about the concept of increasing your returns despite markets going down. With APYs ranging from 90 to 400%, yield farming is more profitable, yet more risky compared to staking. It's as a result of a principle that is known as, This is a result of a principle known as impermanent loss, which is something I won't be going into too much of detail today. Staking helps validate blocks of transactions, while yield farming is helping provide DeFi platforms with liquidity. These are two of the many under-leveraged return-generating opportunities in DeFi that a lot of investors aren't looking at. with more opportunities being built as we speak, well, the new frontier of DeFi is not a single revolutionary investment that'll generate you 100, 200x returns. The new frontier that we're suggesting is a diversified crypto portfolio that uses new DeFi tools to adjust for risk. Rather than trying to generate unsustainable rates of return, 100x, 200x, invest in the long term through an acronym that our firm calls RDM. Reduce risk, diversify your holdings, and minimize your permanent losses of capital. From all of us here at Beacon 256, we'd like to give a very warm thank you to those that have listened to us today. We're a digital asset investment fund based out of Canada, and feel free to follow up with me after for any conversations or any questions you may have about the presentation. Thank you all, and I hope you enjoyed the exhibits downstairs as much as I did. Enjoy.